Folks, first things first, before we get into perhaps the most mental video of the year, I want to introduce our new person to the team, which is Josh, who's worked with us for years anyway, but now he's full-time on the team, who's replacing Matt, who's gone. So firstly, hi Josh, welcome to the deep end of comparison videos.
Hello, it's good to be here. I've been here for a while, but it's good to be officially introduced.
Exactly. But we are literally throwing you in at the deep end because you've been on the PS5 version of Lords of the Fallen, and I've been on the Xbox version of Lords of the Fallen, and it's been a little bit mental. And let's talk through the mental straight away. And let's start with the PS5 version. We don't usually start with the PS5 version. We usually work our way up, but there's a reason for that. So the PS5 version, 2 modes: quality mode, which is about 28 to 30 FPS, and then you've got performance mode, which is about 45 to 60 FPS with an average in the low 50s, but it can drop to the mid 30s. So that pretty much sums up the PlayStation version, which obviously isn't ideal. But we were talking about this before, that like Elden Ring had a consistent like 45-ish FPS.
Yeah, a nice little sort of middle grade. I'd always personally rather that than the wild swings, you know.
Yeah, and this is wild swings, but this is in the most mental bits. I purposely picked the mental bit because that's what we do with testing. So we picked this bit fairly early on the game, but like you're running back and forth. So we'll get back to the PS. Well, actually, quickly on the PS. Usually, if there's a couple of enemies, it's like 58-60, so that's decent. So we've got the Series X version here now, which is quality and performance again. Quality is 28 to 30, mostly 30, and whereas performance is slightly better than the PlayStation version, which is 53 to 60, mostly high 50s, but can drop to high 40s. But if you're only fighting a couple of things, it's pretty much 60. So the Xbox version does perform better, which is bizarre considering that we had to wait after launch for the patch.
Yeah, a bit of a state, wasn't it? It was a bit rough.
Yeah, we will talk about that in a lot more detail when things get less mental, because in a second we're going to jump onto the Series S version, which is a little bit crazy. Crazy one that they've got it working on the S.
Yeah.
And 2, crazy because, yeah, it's interesting. And here we are. Right, the Series S phenomenally has 2 modes, and I have no idea why. It has the quality mode, which runs at about 29 and 30, and it has performance, which is 45 to 60, mid 50s mostly. Like, and as you can see, like it does hit 60 every so often,
every now and then.
Yeah, and can stay at 60. However, the interesting thing about the performance mode is it's a bit blurry.
Yeah, it does look it. That's a weird fuzz effect they've got going on there.
Yeah, like usually I would say on games like this, go for the better frame rate. But it just doesn't look great in the better frame rate. It looks a little bit like someone's taken like a Dark Souls game and put a PS2 filter on it.
Yeah, it looks to me a little bit like it's that that FSR upscaling where it puts it at the higher res, but you get that funny fuzz effect around all the artifacts.
And this is it. We've turned off motion blur and everything, so we do everything parity across all versions. But yeah, this is it in full screen, and it just like the frame rate's pretty decent for what it is, but it just doesn't look great.
No.
So it depends on how much you put on visuals in terms of like weight, as to whether you'll play this. But the main thing is it works, and I had no issues playing it like this. It just doesn't really look very next gen.
I think if you're on the Series S, my advice possibly would be to go for the quality, because at least it's consistent, you know.
Yeah. Well, to be fair though, like the Series S performance is still fairly consistent. Like it actually performs better frame rate wise than the PS5, which is absolutely crazy. But yeah, here we've got the side by sides, and as you can see, Josh, I've looked at these pictures for probably about 30-40 minutes.
They look the same.
Okay, that's a bit of an over exaggeration. I've looked at them for about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really can't tell the difference between quality and performance. So usually I'd say in these kind of games, performance, unless you really, really like visuals. But there is no reason, not one single reason, to play on quality mode in this game.
No, I'm trying to squint at the little plates of armor to see if I can make out any extra detail. There is none. I don't.
No, but I guess the issue is as well, like, we can't, when you compare the two different versions, the Xbox and the PlayStation is, we never know like what you're wearing and what I'm wearing, because you play games very differently to me.
This is true.
I keep every single bit of armor. You sell everything you're not using.
I do.
So yes. I was like, I should have worked out beforehand. But yeah, as you can see, like, performance mode looks great on the Series X, and quality mode looks great. It's a very good looking game across the board in the next gen versions. Not so much on the Series S, but we'll get more on the Series S when it's the side by side stuff in a minute. Again, anyway. But when you compare the two side by side, like, I'm hard pushed to pick out differences in some shots with the Xbox and the PlayStation, but in some, I can actually see the PlayStation actually looking slightly better in performance mode compared to the Series X. Speak of the devil, this is the devil. This is the three versions, all performance mode. Now, if you look to the left of the character, you've got that little bit of grass there. Now, it actually looks slightly better on the PlayStation 5. Which is a little bit bizarre.
That is.
But also bizarre is the bug that the Xbox version seems to have, is look where the UI is placed now, and now look where the UI is placed for the PlayStation version.
So, I wonder what that's about. That's weird.
Because we had this conversation before we started doing the video, and while I was setting this up, like, there are not that I can see, there are no options in the menu to move the UI. Like, it's as if the UI is working on a different resolution to the game itself.
I remember you asking me if I'd changed it. I had not. Yeah, that is an odd one.
Yeah, and you'll see it in the next shot with the two side by side, because you can, on the Series X version here, you can still see the UI in the top left corner. But when it flicks across to the Xbox versus PlayStation, you're going to see no UI from the PlayStation, because this is like a central shot. So, hold on. We're doing the PlayStations first. But next shot you will, Josh. But yeah, so the PlayStation does, in some instances, look slightly better than the Xbox. And I don't know whether that's, because obviously there's no, like, look, there's the UI, by the way. And I'll go, but
yes.
But
just on the left there, yeah. How far?
There is no night-day cycle in these games, but there is kind of weather patterns, I want to say.
Yeah.
Like the clouds change a little bit. They're on a cycle. They're on a timer, and things like that. So the lighting does change in some shots. But again, like the Series S, like the quality looks okay for the console, but the quality and the performance, I'm hard pushed to see the difference. Maybe a couple of bits of lighting, but like that's it. Like if you look at the pole in the middle,
yeah, a little bit on the lighting. I mean, obviously it's motion with that sort of thing. You look at the flags fluttering, and that's pretty clear because it's about the frames. But yeah,
exactly, yeah.
Quality of it, you'd be pretty hard pressed.
So you've absolutely, and I would have said this anyway, regardless of putting these side by side, you absolutely have to play the game on the performance mode, not just because of the frames, but then the frames can be a little bit jarring because they're not consistent. But
yes,
for me it wasn't, like, because when you're playing at, like, let's say 58, 60, and then you go through a mental thing and it drops to 45, you feel it.
Oh yeah.
But I think I'd much rather have it 58 to 60 at some times than have it consistently 45. I know you're the exact opposite, as you just said.
Yeah, I would. I'd always rather, if they could guarantee that bottom end. Yeah. Although in this instance, as you've said, it really is in the sort of 50s to 60s. I'd say maybe most of the time, like 2/3 of the time. Oh,
more than that, to be honest, mate. I'd say probably 80-90% you're in the 50s.
Well, then I'd see that. I concede that.
And to be honest, like, the clip that I did the frame rate test for was the example of, it's not how you traditionally play the game, it's how you'd play the game if you died. and you'd already done that area, and you ran back through the area to get your souls, or I think it's called Vigor in this game, right?
Vigor, yeah.
Like, so, but like as you can see here, there's a slight bit of difference. Like the reflections are a little bit better in like quality mode.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and I think the lighting is slightly different in quality mode, but not enough to make me go, oh, definitely play quality mode.
No, not really. No. And actually some of if you look down at the sort of puddle or the little reflections on the floor, I wouldn't have said it's like night and day, you know.
No, I'm glad you used night and day, Josh, because that's one of our go-to phrases on the channel.
Ah.
Yeah, it's like you've been with us
part
for
of
years.
the furniture already.
Yeah, there you go. But like in general, like, this is an Unreal Engine 5 game. Is it the first? Maybe the first we've done in terms of comparison.
Oh, cool. First one with me in it, and it's the first Unreal Engine 5 game we've done.
Yeah, there must have been more Unreal Engine 5s, but not like big AAA experiences like this.
Yeah.
And it's actually a very good looking game, and it performs pretty decently. Because if people are going, oh, it's like it drops to like the high 40s. Oh, like Elden Ring didn't. It was basically 45.
Yeah.
That was its performance mode. So if you're just looking at the engine alone, then you've already squeezed a few more frames out of it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Obviously, as the engine gets better and developers get more in tune with the engine as well, then you can only assume that that'll get better and they'll squeeze more out of it, and it'll move forward. But in terms of environments and stuff, like artistically sound as well. But like we love a good bit of bush in our comparison videos, and as you can see, like it's got this weird thing, right? With the performance mode on the Series S. Look at the trees with no leaves on them to the left of our character.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
They get a little bit blurry when the Series S comes up. And that's because anything in motion is just blurry. But if it's static, like the rocks, it's good resolution.
Yes.
So it's this thing between static and moving for the Series S.
Yeah.
But as you can see,
it really brings out the fuzz.
Yeah, no. But as you can see in those shots, that Series X and the PS5, there's not much between them. But there are a couple of instances where I did look and go, oh crap, the PS5 actually looks better. There were no instances where I looked at it and I thought that the Xbox Series X looked better. But I think this is going to be one of those that, like, the PS5 has slightly better resolution in terms of visual fidelity, slightly better, whereas the Xbox has slightly better frame rate performance. So it's not clear cut, Josh.
Yeah,
it's,
you pick your poison and you live by
yeah.
it.
But like the quality mode just looks weird with things like anything moving. Like even the characters move, and do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't make a difference on performance.
I can't see much of a reason why you would go for the quality with this game. I really can't.
I think developers are just putting it in now just for the sake of it. I think I would, if I was a developer, I'd be like, this is the best way to play the game.
Yeah,
I would put it in on the Series S version, but I wouldn't put it in on the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X. There's no point.
You just present it as it was. This is the way it's meant to be played. Yeah, fair enough.
But unless they did it because they knew that it wasn't solid, stable frame rate and the performance, it's decent frame rate. It's not awful frame rate. At least it's not dropping into the 30s.
Yeah,
it's always consistently low to mid 50s, and that's only when things get mental, like I said. But if you're just fighting enemies one or two as they come at you, then it's pretty much 58 to 60. Like definitely on the Series X, mostly on the PS5. But yeah, like let's briefly talk about how it's still shocking though that the Series X pre-patch, which came out after the game launched, was abysmal. It was abysmal, Josh.
Really rough. And I know, I mean, I don't want to play armchair developer, but I don't know. I mean, do we think it's because of the Series S that's sort of putting a stopper on that side of things, making it difficult for them?
No, I don't. Not in this instance, because the PS5, you played it pre-patch and it was bad.
Yep.
Right, frame rates were just shocking.
Choppy,
Yeah, but the Xbox launched with that. Like pre-launch, we don't care because we got the patch and then we test it.
Yeah.
But for the Xbox Series X version to come out in the state that it was, the frame rates were shocking. Actually, I'll come back to that in a sec. This is the problem with doing comparisons. Sometimes I'll pick a character who's in one spot, but he wasn't there for you, so I chose a different character.
Right.
But then sometimes, Josh, you choose angles, right? And then that character that wasn't there in yours is now in the shot. Like, I had no idea he was going to stand there. So, yeah.
Excellent. He's blocking your composition.
Oh, man. I just wanted to put that in as a bit of a fun ending.
Excellent.
But yeah, like the Series X, when it launched, frame rates were shocking, the texture loadings were shocking, and no game should launch like that.
No.
It wasn't Cyberpunk bad, but I actually mentioned to you, I'm like, it's not far off Cyberpunk.
It's not far off, yeah. Yeah,
like it still worked though for the most part, but that was on the Series X. The Series X for Cyberpunk was fine.
Yeah.
So yeah,
utterly bizarre, but there you go.
Yeah, but it came out and it took less than 24 hours, so we'll give them a little bit of credit for that, but not that much because it should have been launched.
Shouldn't have happened, but well done for fixing it. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Right, Josh, that is the comparison video. We talked about a lot. Oh, I'm too tired. It's been a long few days. Thanks for watching. Congrats on your first video, Josh. Thanks for watching, folks. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Cheers, folks. Goodbye.
Bye.